Hello and happy gaming, everybody. Ooh, slipped into an old habit. Ah, crap. Anyway, as I had mentioned before, I wanted to show off Loop Hero, so here it is, Loop Hero. So this is one of the first games I've ever seen that's had essentially font options. You know, with the pixel ones, which I think are very dynamic looking. High-res fonts, because, hey, sometimes you just prefer easy to read over artistic. And this is the first time I've seen dyslexia-friendly fonts, which that would really help out my roommate, because, you know, his dyslexia sometimes makes it very difficult to read certain things, so that should hopefully help. Now, this game is controlled solely with the mouse, so you're not gonna... So I'm not sure how they're gonna do console ports of this game, if they're gonna do console ports of this game, but... the team at Four Quarters has put together something very neat here, and of course, published by Devolver Digital, because of course it is. Quick show off the options menu. There it is. So, if you guys are interested in changing any of those options, if you decide to play this game for yourself, there they are. Now, as you can see, I already have quite the file going on my own. But we are going to go ahead and start, and I am going to skip the tutorial because I know what I'm doing. The stars in the sky are going out, one by one. But no one notices it. No one can stop it. I'm racing to the last place where there is still hope. I need to make it before it is too late. Sounds of agony will quickly fade. The world will be destroyed. Even the memory of it will be gone. And even if there is absolutely no chance of bringing it all back, there will always be someone who is willing to do the impossible. In a place without space, without time, without memories. Whomp. Alright, well, we're just gonna go ahead and build this here campfire. Alright, so here is where you figure out everything. You'll get to eventually choose your class down here, your chapter selection, and over here is your card selection. This is all the cards you'll be able to place from the outset. I don't particularly care about road lanterns, but hey, there they are. Everything else I'll leave as is. Alright, so let's actually get into things and show you what Loop Hero is all about. This path. Everything is wrong. But I remember, it looks like a completely different place, and it's empty again. Do my actions have any meaning? Like I have a choice. If I need to give up and cry to save the world, I am the worst savior of all. Let's do it. So, as I'm sure some of you will know from the advertising, this game is almost entirely controlled all on its own, and what you're controlling is the placement of these tiles, as well as armor. And I'll put a cemetery here. What you're controlling is the placement of the tiles and essentially equipment selections. What you're not controlling is everything else attached to that. And now I have a shield. I haven't found a ring yet, but we will. Now, what's really interesting is how the game is altered by how you place these tiles. Pardon me. I am going to place the Vampire Mansion here, and what that means is that any encounters that I run into, pardon me, within any space adjacent to where the Vampire Mansion is, of course highlighted by the blue square, that means that I'll fight whatever is there on those encounter spaces, in this case these two spaces, plus the vampire that lives in the mansion. Placing a rock, as you can see from the highlight text, gives you more maximum HP, and you'll get even more by placing other rocks next to it. I'm going to put this here for now. Now, the rock is what I like to call a landscape tile. There we go. So let me pause it for a moment. Landscape tiles you just put just about anywhere on the field. Other tiles, like this one, is a roadside symbol. And I'm going to put this next to the vampire mansion to kind of limit the maximum number of enemies that can go in these spaces. And the meadow. So the meadow is actually something that heals you for more HP at the start of a day. The length of day progress right up there being symbolized by this bar. Also, I did alter the game speed to be ×2. I just think the game speed of ×2 feels better. But, you know, getting ahead of myself. So, at the start of each new day, if you have a meadow down, you'll heal an additional 2 HP. But here's where the whole tile placement thing comes in. Some tiles have different effects based upon where you place them. And if I place the meadow next to literally any other tile, it becomes a blooming meadow. And now it heals 3 HP at the start of each day. And you can see how that starts to build up. So what we have is a game that, even though it seems really lame, it's like, oh my god, this game just plays itself, how stupid. What you have is a game that's... We're going to put the spider cocoon here. So spider cocoon spawns spiders. That seems obvious, and it spawns them once a day on any adjacent tile, so, you know, once again, any tile that it's touching. So the thing about spiders is that they have different drops from just the regular little slimy boys, and having a spider cocoon out is going to be the way that you would essentially get more stuff. So that's essentially there to advance the game difficulty, and that's another thing I really like about this game. You get to plan out, how difficult do I want to make this run? How difficult do I want to make this? How fast do I want to go? Because if you make the game too difficult too quickly, you're gonna just die. But if you choose to try to level yourself up too slowly, then every time you make a loop, the enemies get stronger. So again, you just have to make sure you're balancing everything properly. It's about where you place everything, how quickly. There's a lot to this game. So, the battlefield. It spawns a treasure chest at the start of each loop, but enemies on these tiles can become ghosts. So I am going to put the battlefield here, because my thought is, if it's going to spawn a treasure chest at the start of each loop, I want to hit that treasure chest as quickly as possible. Alright, let's go ahead and fight the slimy boy. Hopefully we get something good out of this. A different shield. This one has the same defense as my current shield, but also has an evasion rating of 9%, meaning that roughly 9% of the attacks I field, I'm going to dodge. I probably didn't need to tell you that, but it's worth bringing up. 2 more meadows, so I'm going to put 1 here, and 1 here. So that's 9 HP a day, plus, as you can see, I'm gathering resources to build other things. Skeleton Boy doesn't attack very quickly, but he hits hard in comparison to other enemies. There are enemies that hit harder than Skelly Boy there, but... Now, on my other file, I have all sorts of other tile types unlocked. Things like rivers and forests and whatnot. But since we are starting anew, because I wanted to show the game off, I wanted to... Treasury, that's a new one for us. So this will give you random resources after placing anything on an adjacent tile, but it can't be built next to anything, so you have to put it somewhere and then place things around it. In this case, what I will do is I will place a rock next to it, and as you can see, I get more resources for that. Now, if you completely surround a treasury, it'll burst open and give you a ton of stuff. I think it gives you more stuff the higher your loop level is, but it also makes it so that an open treasury spawns gargoyles. So again, risk-reward, risk-reward, risk-reward. You willing to risk it for the biscuit, or do you want to play it safe? That is a big part of how this game works, and I think it plays with the idea beautifully. So, a grove. So, when you pass by a grove, you get, I believe it's a stable stick. By the way, there's a reason why I'm placing these rocks in that specific formation. You'll see in a bit. And there we go. New armor and a ring. So, magic damage, just additional damage. More evasion, very nice. And damage to all. That means if I run into an encounter with multiple enemies, every time I attack, I'll hit all of them for that amount of damage. It's a small amount to be sure, but it's there. Counter is, of course, a chance to counterattack. Vampirism, one of my favorite stats, is whatever percentage of damage you have in Vampirism is a percentage of damage that you will do to that you will get back as health when you hit an enemy. Yep, see, there you go. I passed by the grove and got some stable branches. Mountain. It's basically like a rock, but really big. Exactly. This one doesn't give you any HP when you place it down, but it gives you an additional 5 for every adjacent rock or another mountain. So put it there, and we get a bunch of health. Now, there is more to rocks and mountains. Like I said, there's a reason why I have them in this formation. Another mountain, thank you. I'll place another grove here. Groves do spawn an enemy called a rat wolf for every 2 days, and they can move to any adjacent tile, so here they can be here, here, or here. But again, more resources. And I think I'm going to go ahead and drop a road lantern there just to... Now, I don't necessarily want another vampire mansion out right away. And after all, there's... Like I said, I don't want to bump the difficulty too far too quickly. I'm actually going to refrain from equipping that because as much as I like having regeneration and evasion, I think the additional damage is helping quite a bit. Here we go. And we got a stronger weapon. I'm not even going to look at the ring, it's really not that useful. Alright, I'm going to put down a second treasury, but I don't really have anything to do with it just yet, because I'm trying to limit the number of rocks I put down. And again, there's a reason for it. Again, you're just going to have to trust me. You'll see soon enough, because I'm trying to wait until the game gives me more mountain cards to place. Here we go, a special weapon. So, any item drop you get is denoted in rarity by the color of the background. It goes, I believe, gray, blue, yellow, orange. I haven't seen anything above orange yet, but there you go. So, that scimitar is going to do the same damage as that axe, but it's got additional damage added onto it, as well as additional attack speed, which means I will be attacking 8% faster. Very nice. One more mountain. And we've got some more armor choices. Let's see if these are anything interesting. So even though it's going to lower my damage a bit, I am going to take the spear because it's got higher base damage. And, well, that's basically it. It's got higher base damage. Let's see, another cemetery. Why don't I put that... Oh no, that's a rock. Cemetery. I'll put you here. Another battlefield. Alright, so here's a nice little interaction with the battlefields. if the area of the battlefields cross over, like you can see it will on this space right here, it will create a blood path. Now that will spawn a special enemy called the Blood Clot every 4 days. Now, if you remember what I said about spider cocoons, I'll place... Alright, I want to show off what a vampire is, plus there are some special interactions that you get for the first time you meet certain special enemy types. Oh, Meadow. So, it's not special, but if you place a meadow next to a treasury, not only does it become a blooming meadow, but you get additional resources from it. So it's worth saving your meadows to place next to treasuries. I think the higher defense is worth it. Ooh, much stronger armor. Yeah, that's good. I'm willing to give up vampirism for that. Damage to all of 9? That's really nice. And now here's the special interaction I was talking about. So there's going to be 2 things that happen. So if you place rocks or mountains in a 3x3 tile formation like I'm about to do, it's going to transform them all into a mountain peak. As you can see, that was worth a lot of noticeable change. Additionally, that changes it from being like 2 HP or 5 HP or whatever, to now being just a flat 120 HP, and I think that changes depending on whether you form it mostly with mountains or rocks. More importantly, and I'm going to put a road lantern here because now I'm going to have to deal with goblins, and goblins are assholes. More importantly, additional rocks or mountains that I place next to this will be a 5 additional HP. Now, the caveat is that you can only have one mountain peak on the map at a time, so you can't make a bunch of them. And as you can see, it's also going to spawn harpies. So there you go. But let's go ahead and increase my max HP by a bit. Here's a nice level 5 armor, but I'm keeping to what I have because I like the damage bonus. Oh, that's right, this game has a lot of text to it, so now I need to decide what voice am I going to use for the vampire. Okay. Back off, human! A vampire? Where are your lands? If your farmers need help, I would be glad to offer it. No more lands, no more flock, only hundreds of years of emptiness! And hundreds of years of hunger! ... Save yourself while you still can. I don't know how long I will be able to keep my head straight. What hundreds of years are you talking about? Your mind is easy to trick. Oh, sorry. Your mind is easy to trick, but you can't trick my hunger. It demands its share. Every sip, every drop of blood will go to satiate it. I am too weak, but you can help me, and I will set this crumbled world right. Right! I'm doing this not just for myself, but for everyone, in the name of the good. So be grateful for my hard work and just let me bleed you dry! So, having a vampire in the fight makes it so that every enemy vampires health, including the vampires themselves, so. Vampires often owned our lands. They kept the peace and helped our settlements to prosper. But this won't do it all. Now they're just pale shadows of their former selves, both physically and mentally. Apparently, the blood of other creatures can't sustain them. He wasn't joking about the hunger. Even the creatures that stand near him are imbued with the power to devour someone else's life. See? Even the game says so. Alright, so if I add the magic damage onto the damage of the spear, I can see that actually the sword will still be stronger, so let's do that. Another meadow, which we'll put next to this. Also, as you can see, passing by a graveyard offers you some pebbles that you can use to create a preserved rock. With that in mind, I'm going to put another graveyard there. And we're about to come across our first goblin. Alright, voice for the goblin. Alright, I got it. Stop! Where did these goblins come from? I don't remember remembering you. We remembered ourselves. Now give us all you've got. You have no idea what's going on, right? Why don't you help me restore order in this world first, then you can do anything you want. Goblin must rob. No other order in the world. Fair enough. Guess I don't have any valid objection here. Oh wait, I do have one. How about... So, the thing about goblins is that they attack very quickly. They are just plain jerks. It's strange how these creatures appeared here on their own. Maybe it means everything is actually not so bad and that the world is trying to restore itself. Or that even the apocalypse isn't enough to get rid of some pests. Alright. So, I would lose some damage to all, but I would get defense, regeneration, and more evasion. I think that's worth it. What do we have here? So I guess the question is, do I want to completely give up on my damage to all stat? To be fair, I have some damage to all coming from you. I think I'm going to hold on to it for now because I'm very much enjoying the boosted damage. Ooh, new shield. Definitely better. Doggo. Beacon. Plus 40 movement speed within its range, plus 20 attack speed for all units. See, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of making everything run super fast, because I kind of like the days to take a little bit longer, but just for sake of argument, I will put it there. I don't know if there are any special interactions with the beacons. I normally turn them off. Ooh, first interaction with Heartbeat.
No!
What do you mean, no?
You want to save the world. You want to ask for help. Our answer is no.
How did you... But why no?
We see far away. We see deep inside. For a long time, there has been just emptiness instead of the sky. But it doesn't stop us from seeing. Your saving of the world is one-sided and naive. Each person sees their own way of saving the world. That's why no one will ever join you.
Fine. I don't fully understand it, but tell me your version. What does to save the world mean to you?
My progeny and my kin. For them to be strong and to live. It's a part of the cycle of life and death. It is life itself. It is the world. I will kill you and feed your remains to my starving younglings. And life will go on. How many lives does your blade give birth to by killing again and again?
Only one. I don't want you or your children to die from starvation. Please, try to see reason. If my mission succeeds, Harpies can have all the sky and all the hunting grounds they need.
I can't feed my children with your beautiful words. It's time to say goodbye.
Oh, yeah, a little metaphysical there. I feel awful. By fixing one evil, I'm becoming a source of another. There's no home for harpies except the highest mountains, but there's no food there. Can't imagine how they managed to survive if their mountains were cut from reality. I mean, I'd feel worse for them if they weren't, you know, trying to murder me to feed my entrails to their children. Okay, I'm not gonna place another beacon. I just don't see the reasoning for it. Another meadow's gonna go right there, though. Ooh, Oblivion. This is a rare find.
but it's always nice because you can take it and erase shitty things like goblin camps. Bye, goblin camp. So no matter what my card layout, I always leave Oblivions on because you can always get rid of something that you don't like. Cock-a-doodle-doo! And birds have been having a hell of a time watching me get good at this game. Level 5 spear. So even though it does do 2 more points both at min and max damage range, I think I'm gonna leave what I have now because I prefer to dodge damage and reduce it in comparison to just countering every now and again. Is this good armor? Well, I'd lose damage to all. I'm gonna hold on to it because I'm pretty sure damage to all also increases single target damage. As you can see, this treasury is almost completely filled in by tiles. Alright, so I do like the 11 magic damage. We're gonna go with that. This maintains my evasion while giving me more damage. Definitely worth taking. As you can see, being next to the beacon makes them attack faster. Like, I really just see no reason to have to deal with goblins at first. Evasion and vampirism. So this is way more max HP, but again, I'm really liking the damage bonus, so I'm going to try to hang on to that for as long as I can. At least until it becomes obvious that I don't have enough survivability. Because remember, each loop I make, the enemies are getting stronger, even if it isn't, like, all right away. And I suppose, for sake of showing things off, let me show you what happens when you fill in the treasury, or the area around the treasury. It also gives you more tiles to place. And we've now placed enough rocks that another goblin encampment has formed, so yay for me. Except for whatever reason, even though goblins are kind of like your low-level grunt enemy in a lot of games, in this game, they are just plain jerks. That is a lot of extra damage. Is it worth giving up the evasion? Well, now it's worth it because I'm getting even more damage. And another Oblivion. Bye, Goblin Encampment. Alright, so now where do you place meadows once you've got all your stuff filled in? You always want to try to place meadows next to something else so that they turn into blooming meadows. Ooh, a level 6 ring. What do we got? Well, I'd lose a few things, but I'd gain some vampirism and counterattack percentage. Is it worth it to give up? I'd rather not give up the damage to all because I'm starting to run into more battles with multiple enemies. But as you can see, there's only so much we can do before we just plain old... Okay, I think it's time to switch the armor, even though I'm going to lose that magic damage. But I think it's worth it for having more health. Alright, let's put a grove here and a cemetery here. Stop evading my attacks. Alright, we have another meadow that I'm going to place next to this battlefield. So the one stipulation to the blooming meadows is that they don't create other blooming meadows by being placed next to other blooming meadows. So something to keep in mind. I'm not giving up the 11 magic damage even if it is for vampirism. And another treasury, which I will put right there. Alright, so the one thing I haven't explained yet is the map completion. So you don't necessarily win by just going in a circle forever. You have to spawn the boss, and the boss spawns when this map completion bar is filled. And that is your reasoning for filling in more and more tiles. So even though I'm making things more and more difficult on myself, I have to do that in order to reach the boss. Now, as you can see, though, I'm getting to the point where survivability is starting to become a real issue. And honestly, that is absolutely fine. You're probably not going to win your first expedition. So what you do is you have to decide whether or not, when the time comes, you need to decide when to retreat from the map. In this case, there's essentially 4 ways to retreat from the map. Beat the boss, and then you'll be given the option to retreat and keep all your stuff. You can retreat anywhere on the map, and be allowed to retreat with 60% of your stuff. You can just die, and then you leave the map with 30% of your stuff. Or, if you choose to retreat when you're within one tile of the camp or on the camp, which, by the way, heals 20 HP every time you complete a loop, or 20%, then you get to keep all your stuff. And that is the option I'm going to take. It. Hey everybody, the boy has managed to return! Survivors! Does this mean I'm not alone anymore? Where did you come from? Is there still a place without darkness? We don't know where we came from, or we can't remember. These people you see are only a small part of what's left of the group, I think. You're not sure? We're not sure. We reached that conclusion because of the abandoned luggage and leftover daily rations. With each day, new signs of presence of people that, as far as everyone here knows, have never even been with us. It's like we forgot them. You forgot? Exactly. It's like people disappear every day and we instantly forget that they even existed. Almost as if we forgot this place we came from. We forgot the place we came from. And our families, and maybe even ourselves. My name is Yota. That's the part I still remember. Nobody else's memory is in much better shape. That's why I remember so little about myself. Everything is forgotten. But wait, you said I'd managed to return. That means you remembered I was here. Yes, that's why it's so important to us. We saw you leave, but you were gone before we could approach you. Listen, we can't wander around in this emptiness anymore. There's a campfire and a few sleeping bags here. A real luxury in these dark times. What do you say? Oh, of course. I'd be very grateful if we could team up. I want to restore everything. I've begun to remember the world as it was before. But there's no point to it without other people. It's too lonely without them. Remembering the world? I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm too exhausted, but we'd be glad if you could help us. And we'd be glad to help you. Just don't ask us to go with you. I don't know how you managed to return, but for us, leaving the group is too dangerous. I will ask no such thing of you. For now, I just want to have a place to return to. A place where I can hear other people's voices. We weren't joking about helping you. Here are the few things that survived the cataclysm and didn't vanish away. Can't be forgotten. Take them, you might need them. There we go. And that is the first run of Loop Heroes, so next time I play, I will start building some things around the town, and we'll start to kind of make sense of this crazy forgotten world. I'm really digging this game. Even though it's one of those things where the gameplay is kind of on the lower end of things, the story and the way that they managed to make the world the star instead of necessarily your character, that's really interesting to me, and I'm really digging it. So hopefully you guys are digging it too, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about this one. As per usual, thank you very much for coming and spending time with me. It really means a lot to me. Do the usual YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe. Links to my social media will be in the description, and I'll catch you guys in another video. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and I will be seeing you